Welcome back to Vertical Thoughts, the climbing podcast by climbers for climbers. I have not climbed since Monday. It is now Thursday, and I'm going to lose my freaking mind. I brought some climbers with me tonight. Boys, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Xavier, go ahead and start first.
Hey, my name's Xavier Arias. Been a friend of Liam's at the climbing gym for probably about, 2 years now?
Yeah, that sounds right.
A little while. Yeah. Just trying to break out into the outdoor stuff and really like watching the movies too.
Cool, awesome. Xavier, welcome. Glad to have you, buddy.
Thank you.
Noah, you're up, my dude.
What's up, everyone? I'm Noah. I've been climbing with Liam for probably 2-ish years. Sound right?
Yeah, about the same amount of time, I think, yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Love climbing and just saw those climbing movies that everyone's talking about.
You know what he's talking about. If you're listening,
you know it.
You know, all right? 2 movies. We're gonna be talking about them, breaking them down a little bit tonight. One of them is Alex Honnold and Jimmy Chin's magnum opus, Free Solo. And the other one is the equally recent and equally entertaining Sender Films movie titled The Dawn Wall, about Tommy Caldwell and Kevin Jorgensen's ascent of the hardest big wall climb in the world. Both extremely impressive, extremely inspiring movies tonight. Us 3 highly intellectual gentlemen are going to be breaking down these movies and comparing and contrasting the two and talking a little bit about the climbers in the movies. Now, we don't know these climbers personally, of course. A lot of this is conjecture, but I do believe
Speak
that
for
the movies,
yourself.
That's true. Noah is very close with Alex Honnold. I forgot about that. Noah's got friends in high places.
We're best buds.
Like this. You can't see my fingers, but they're intertwined, making a sort of X shape.
These are close too.
But I think the movies provide very good insight into the minds of both of these. I should say all 3, because Kevin, Tommy, and then Alex. Who's the soloist. So to start things off, though, how long have you guys individually been climbing in general? I'll start with Xavier again.
It's been about 2.5 years now, actually. I've been in the same gym now for that entire time too, so it's been really cool to progress there.
So you started actually shortly before I started climbing at Vital.
I believe so, yeah.
Cool. That's good. A lot of the people I'm having on the show, I've been surprised with the amount of time they've been climbing. In terms of, it's a lot more compressed than I thought it was, considering I've been climbing on and off for so long, for like 5-6 years. And it's interesting to me to learn that it's still new to some people, and I think it's awesome to have a passion for the sport so early on. I miss being new to rock climbing. I wish I started when I was young enough to have any kind of like good progression arc. But, past my prime, it is what it is. Hashtag 22.
Everyone gets that feeling too. It comes
Totally.
in different spots. I'm already starting to feel it because I'm like, I see people, they're like the stuff that's really challenging them. It's like, man, that looks like super fun to be that challenging, and it's, you miss like kind of hitting something the first time.
You do. And I think you lose something the better you get in climbing. You gain a lot of things, of course, too, but you lose. For me, it was like walk into a gym and I have dozens of projects, things that I can really work on and be challenged by. And then now I'm climbing a little bit better, and the gym will set a lower percentage of hard climbs. And so I just have less projects. And the difference is all of them feel impossible. And
that curve starts to kind of stretch out, that learning curve. And all of a sudden everything that isn't easy is really freaking hard.
Exactly. It's a challenging plateau that I've reached, but hopefully we'll pull through it together. And Noah, what about you? How long have you been climbing for?
So I say I've been climbing for 3 years, but the first year was really on and off, like maybe once a week climbing, like a few times a month material. But then my second year, I really kicked it into high gear and started going 3-4 times a week. So I would say 2 years.
2 years, about the same amount of time. So that's cool. I mean, these 2 guys that I have here with me, both climbers at my home gym, Vital Climbing Gym in Marietta, California. It's cool, the community that we have, and I talked about this again when we had Nick and Zach on the show two episodes ago, 3 episodes, I guess now. It's great, the community that we have, the community that we've built, and just a shared passion for rock climbing, because I remember growing up, I didn't really have many friends that climbed. It was a lot less common back then. And like in the episode with Mark and I, we talked about how maybe one other person in our entire high school rock climbed, maybe one. And
that's nuts, yeah.
It was crazy. We could not talk climbing. And that's really like why Vertical Thoughts happened, is because I love to talk climbing, bro. It just it
just rolls off the tongue.
It rustles my jimmies in the best way. You know what I mean? And if jimmies ain't rustled, then
what's the point?
Mama ain't happy. I'm mixing metaphors, but woof. He said oof. Liam's choking this podcast, boys.
It's all good.
So actually, I gotta go now.
Actually, I changed my mind. This sucks. I'll see you guys later. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Starting with Free Solo. What can you say, really? I mean, a masterpiece, a now Academy Awarded film, put together, shot, composed beautifully, and truly, I mean, in my opinion, the most impressive athletic feat of all time. I can't think of anything more awe-inspiring or impressive. And I mean awe in the traditional sense of like looking up with your mouth hanging open and like, like that's what I mean by awe-inspiring. Truly insane, even from behind a screen. What were your guys' first thoughts, your first time watching the movie, as like the movie started, you know, and as things opened up and got into the story of Alex Honnold? How are you feeling? How did the movie really, what feelings did it draw into your body?
I think I just remember sitting there and looking at what he was going to climb, his route, and I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to make it up. And then I think, well, they wouldn't make a movie about a guy who died either. So I guess he's going to make it. That's the craziest thing.
You know, the entire time, you know the end, and it's still, you're like, dude, that's impossible. He doesn't do that.
Right.
Crazy.
It was it was like this balance of I mean, not only like risk and reward, but they're taking this like really kind of quiet, private thing and making it very public, and that was what I think made that movie feel like really intense. Was like Honnold himself's already kind of like a cold guy to listen to talk about this stuff because it's not like a big deal to him, and so that almost made it like spookier in some sense. And like, yeah, everyone knows he gets out alive, but watching it, you just like, it still like hits you like right in the stomach. And it had a lot of like shock value. If there was something which is I feel like you should be pursuing in films is shock value, and like making people really feel something. And like everybody universally like felt the same thing on that. Like it was just scary to watch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like the entire, wherever you were, living room, movie theater, film festival, the entire audience just colloquially holding their breath for like 12 minutes, even though, again, we know he doesn't die.
Yeah.
We know for sure he makes it, right? He either makes it or he chickens out and down climbs, which is impossible. So my dude makes it up the wall. So it was amazing. And I really like kind of what you said about him being kind of a calloused person. Callous is maybe not the right word, because it's not necessarily from experience that has turned him hard. He just lacks kind of basic human emotions. And they did address that in the film, and they talked about, you know, kind of why that is and where it stems from. And there was not a lot of emotion, you know, in his family growing up, and in his childhood life. He didn't learn emotion, and especially expressing emotion. That's something you kind of got to be taught, I think, for that kind of person. I relate to him a lot in personality. I was a lot like him as a kid. Just quiet and poor at expressing myself and my feelings, and I often came across as kind of like that callous, like hardened, like I didn't care, you know, about many things, because truly I didn't. Like people would be talking to me, and I would just think, man, I care less what you're saying right now. Like just,
it's not worried about it.
Yeah, and I think that's more of a byproduct of genetics than anything else. But you know, it takes some work to overcome that, and no one ever taught him how.
No, and
it was probably,
as soon as he got older, you know, he just took off and did his own thing.
Yeah, and began free soloing because he didn't want to ask anyone else to belay him.
Yeah.
I mean,
social fear.
Yeah, that's a social anxiety battle that I'm losing 10 times out of 10. I'll tell you what. I mean, I may consider it, be like, oh, I don't want to go. Those guys look like they're having fun. I don't really just want to pop in and like, you know, I guess ask them to belay me. That seems kind of impolite, or you know.
So I'll just go do it alone. It's okay.
Yeah, and then I would go stand at the base of the wall and be like, I'll just quit climbing, I guess. I'll just retire, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's not for everyone. It's a very low percentage, you know, little sect of what it is, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Is a sect. It's like a, you know, very niche group of climbers, and I think that's a key difference between the two movies. Is that Tommy Caldwell is as climber as it gets. You know what I mean? You don't get a stronger example of a rock climber than Tommy C.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like he's like your when you think of it, when you think of a climber, that's what you
Oh yeah, picture a climber.
He's very social. He's like
Tommy
really
Caldwell.
a fun guy.
Yeah, has climbed hard. You know, won his first competition. Climbed hard his whole life, pretty much. I mean, has been doing it since a child. He's dominant in the sport. He's made headlines, Climbing Magazine. He's passionate. He meets all the criteria for a rock climber. And that's very contrasting to Alex Honnold. And who Alex Honnold is because he doesn't necessarily desire to be, quote unquote, a rock climber. You know what I mean? He's just him. He's doing him. On, off the wall, whatever. He just like...
It just happens to be really cool to watch.
Exactly. It's almost on accident, if anything else. And I liked a lot of the Dawn Wall had narration and commentary by John Long, who is another one of those just legendary climbers. You know what I mean? Pioneered the sport and put up so much outdoors. Really knows his way around just rock and climbing. And, you know, here in Southern California, also John Long has put up a ton of climbs out here. And kind of a pioneer, one of my personal heroes, you know, one of the Stone Masters. And it was cool that they had his perspective and him being like, no, that's impossible. No one could do that. And then... Yeah,
and then to have, like, that next generation,
yeah,
you know, take the next step kind of thing.
Yeah, really cool contrast. And to kick things off here, let's dive into the difference between the two climbers a little bit. Kevin Jorgensen deserves all the credit in the world, right? We're not going to...
Absolutely.
I'm not going to bump him out of this conversation, but we're going to focus on Tommy Caldwell and Alex Honnold. And then we will talk a little bit about Kevin later on down the road, because I have some, you know, a lot of things to say about Kevin. But specifically in regards to Alex Honnold, you know, we've kind of summarized a few thoughts so far. He's maybe a little cold, comes off as a little bit emotionless. He also, to me, he seems very soft at the same time as being very hard. You know what I mean? He's kind of soft-spoken, you know, kind of hunched shoulders posture. Yeah, non-confrontational. Yeah, maybe kind of a passive personality, but also not a passive personality, because he, you know, if he disagreed with you, he would tell you, because he doesn't. But doesn't do it in a direct way. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, he's going to say it like it is. And I really respect, you know, the kind of person that he is and chooses to be. And of course, he just shamelessly is himself. And that's really respectable for how in the spotlight he is right now. So what would you guys say, you know, just about your impressions of Alex Honnold, just from the movie, I would say, you know, kind of, how would you describe him, I guess, as a character from the way the movie portrayed him, as opposed to maybe things that you've heard or read about him or things like that, but just from the movie's perspective?
The way he carries himself and the way he like chooses to portray himself when he speaks, he's got this real, like, I don't know how else to say it other than like this kind of like sword in the stone feel. Like he just was kind of meant for it and just happened to become something, you know?
Yeah.
It's something he was doing naturally, being himself, and people just caught on and started following him around. And there's a disconnect to him because of that, because I feel like when I watch that movie, there's like part of himself he's definitely holding back, because I feel like I've seen other interviews where he's just like got more humor and stuff like that.
Do you think that had to do with him being like nervous maybe about the situation, or do you think that was maybe like on purpose?
It may have had something to do with the situation. He was, you know, trying to not get in his own head, and they even addressed it at one point in the movie where they're like, you know, we're neutral. We're not going to be giving any good expectations. We're not giving any bad expectations. We're just here to film, and he's here to do his thing. And they kind of cut emotions out of the movie because like he was doing something so like just dangerous. And that on top of him already naturally kind of just being a very direct, very just matter of fact kind of guy made it all feel like very cold and like observational, I guess.
Yeah. Just raw. I mean,
yeah, very.
No script, no score.
Like the story was tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it was just beautiful. It was raw. It was unfiltered. It was really tough. That's a good way to put it. It was difficult to watch sometimes because you see the tension. I mean, tension was so thick, dude. You could grab it. It was a jug. There was a giant jug of tension throughout the entire movie between him and Sonny and between him and the film crew. Even they're all trying not to kill the guy and between
there's
him
like
and other
all this guilt
climbers.
And weight on top of everything.
Yeah, and he's got that inner conflict that you can see going on behind his eyes of like, should I even be filming this? Like, but then he kind of halfway through the movie, you see him kind of resolve himself, and be like, well, if I wanted to do it by myself, I will just go and do it by myself. I just won't. tell you.
Totally. Yeah, and he's not scared to just like let everything burn so he can do his own thing because that's all he really cares about.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's just tense, just tension. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that through the movie, my shoulders were up by my ears the entire time I was watching that movie. I kind of took a moment to like take inventory of my body language halfway through, and I was like, dude, I am stressed. Like this is like real
relaxes,
genuine stress.
Everyone's alive.
Yeah. So Noah, what did you think about Alex Honnold in the movie and how he was portrayed?
Honestly, I don't think it did him justice how he was portrayed in the movie, just because everything seemed very focused on himself. And it almost made him seem like a selfish person to me at first. Like he's doing this for him and he doesn't care what anybody else is thinking. He doesn't really care. The conversation that struck me was when he was talking to his girlfriend and she's like, well, what about us? What about our future? Are you going to keep doing this? And he's like, well, yeah, of course, this is my thing. And then it just kind of hit me like, well, this is his thing. Like, this is his, like, release from it all, and he needs this.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's his life. It's his soul, his rock climbing.
Yeah.
And it's not all he knows because, he knows other things. But question for you. I like the way you put that, so that maybe it portrays him as a little bit selfish, because I did get that vibe a little bit. I thought that maybe he was portrayed, I wouldn't say unfairly, but it is just a byproduct, I think, of it being so raw and there just being cameras there and present for the moments, because they're not going to include the footage of him, being like, hey, it's really, really glad you're here and our relationships, going well.
Yeah,
and
there's no tension in that.
Yeah.
Right.
So of course we only kind of saw the more raw emotional moments, and Sonny, and she's very emotional and she's very emotionally connected to him, and kind of latched on to him. And it kind of seems like, while she's latched on, he's almost just kind of like he was walking and she kind of snatched his leg and he just kind of kept walking. You know what I mean? With her now wrapped around his leg.
Actually, it's a really good description.
That's kind of the portrayal.
Yeah. And I do believe that's kind of how it is to a certain extent, because of his personality. But I truly believe that he loves her. I think that he cares about her.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe he has trouble expressing that. And that's just, someone's got to teach you how to do it. Someone's got to teach you how to express love.
Yeah.
And I personally relate to that a lot. I didn't tell any of my sisters I loved him until I was probably 19 years old. And to a lot of people, that sounds nuts. But to Alex Honnold, that probably sounds pretty sane, because it's just...
like, yeah, that's how it is. Like,
yeah.
Just don't...
Mm-hmm.
Would I die for him? Would I kill for him? Of course. But when it came
don't need to say it all the time.
Yeah, when it came to looking him in the face and saying, I love you too, you know what I mean? That was weird for me for a long time. And I think it just comes down to your chemical composition, just what you feel and how you feel it, how you process information. My mom would tell you that she thinks that I have Asperger's, and maybe she would probably say that Alex Honnold has Asperger's too as well.
That's just the answer. Like, there's no way you're just like that.
Yeah, it's just So, but it's just that kind of person. I do think that he cares about her, and maybe the relationship was portrayed a little bit more raw than it is. But I do also think that those moments were totally real. And it was just a very tense, raw couple years of him just being maybe kind of disconnected. And even Tommy Caldwell's divorce, the same thing is just, she was like, yeah, this is his life. Like, he goes out here for months at a time. Like, he's in love with that wall. Like, and that's difficult for me. Like, but anyway, so that's kind of, three different but similar perspectives of how Alex Honnold is. No, I like what you said though about, it may be being a little bit unfair in that he's probably less like that in person. We'll say maybe a smaller percentage of the time is he like that in person, but the cameras only captured those small percentages.
Of course, yeah. If you watch like old interviews with like him and Cedar Wright and stuff like that, they're like kind of chilling and telling jokes, and it's like really lighthearted. That movie was intense,
Very tense, yeah. Now, first impressions from the movie about Tommy Caldwell. Let's kind of flip the script onto him for a moment. How did you guys feel? I think we probably, we know who Tommy Caldwell is, but the movie gave me a lot of insight into his mind and him as a person and his character. And so how did you guys feel about his portrayal in The Don Wall?
I felt like he was like just super likable. He had this kind of this really cool story where he related to everybody in a way, in a really like raw and unintentional way, because he kind of started off this quirky kid who wasn't like really athletic and stuff like that, and then he had this like really athletic dad that like pushed him into being athletic, and he became this very balanced person where now he's like can do these insane things, but he's so like humble and sensitive still. And like social, because his dad was like constantly pushing him out there. Like, unlike Alex, like he unfortunately lost his father, and so he kind of went on his own and did his own thing. Tommy always had his dad pushing him out there, and like even when we saw him break out at that climbing competition, it was in Colorado where they're on the building.
Utah, I believe, Snowbird.
Utah, yeah. Like his dad like brought him out there and was like, "Oh, you should do it," and then all of a sudden his career explodes.
Crazy.
And the dude just has like a huge heart. And I will say that even though he's in love with the wall and like his obsession is equal to Honnold's, he like kind of gave something up when he stopped for Kevin. And I don't know if I'm going ahead, but that whole thing, it's like, dude, this guy like put his dream on pause, that's, and that said a lot about him, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. That struck me like a brick in the face, I'll be honest, that part of the movie, because they build and build and build to this apex, you know what I mean, of him attempting the Don Wall, a decade or so just swinging around the wall looking for holds, alone, destitute, sobbing in his tent up on the wall. Just, this is all he's got, is this wall, this climb. This is his purpose. This is like his mecca, his magnum opus. His great one purpose in life is to climb the Don Wall, right? And he's climbing himself out of an emotional pit, right? Just a pit of despair that he was left in after his divorce, and and he climbed his way out of that literally from the base of the mountain, from the base of the face. Just climbed his way out of despair. And then he stops and they ask him, "How do you feel?" And he does not respond. And instead he says, "I want Kevin to feel this." Dude, it blew my mind. Like, he's sitting there. He's at the summit. He's not there yet, but he's there. Like, let's face it, he's done it, right? He
did all the cruxes are pretty much over.
They're over. He knows the climb from here on out. All he was thinking about sitting there was Kevin. Was his boy.
It was like his humanity really showed right there.
Incredible. And just so selfless and such a gentle thing of him to be up there, and instead of glorifying his own moment, which he had every right to do. I mean,
absolutely. Kevin was in it for a couple years. He was in it for like 10, like his investment was higher. It was his project.
It was his life for a long time. And instead of getting there and reveling in the moment, he was thinking about his mans. He like truly an awe-inspiring and beautiful moment. And for me, portrayed the difference of like we're talking about with Alex Honnold, where this is for him. He does it for him. You don't like it, doesn't matter. If you don't do it, doesn't matter. If you don't understand it, doesn't matter. He does it for him. This is his, like he says, the goddamn warrior spirit. Whatever you do, do it with excellence. And that's what he's doing. He's doing what he does, and he's pursuing it with excellence. And he's doing it for him because this is what he's meant to do. Tommy, it seemed like, was on the same warpath, right? Until he gets there and turns back. It's baffling. I truly, like, I was sitting there watching that movie, and one single, like, masculine Jason Momoa-sized tear left my right eye, and I just thought...
Just slipped out, yeah.
I was sitting there, I was like, he's thinking about his boy. And I was... blew my mind. It was.
Yeah, it was really heavy.
It was really telling about his character and the kind of person he is, and selflessness and love. Truly, like, that kind of person just knows how to love, you know what I mean, and loves everyone and wants to love everyone and share moments like that and feelings and just share good with the world. That's pretty special. I mean,
and I don't feel like he was taught that. I think they showed that in his childhood. He was always kind of like that. He was always just like a really just gentle person, you know?
Yeah, just truly cares about other people, and to be in his position and to be thinking about someone else, to me, is just so baffling. Noah, we'll go to you now. So kind of just your impressions, if there's anything you wanted to add to any of that.
Yeah, so I thought that Tommy was more of, he encapsulated what I wanted to see in a climber. You know, he was there not just to get the climb, but he was there to have fun while he was doing it. Because when I was watching, like, Free Solo Alex, he reminded me more of a sender. Like, he's going to get this climb no matter what. But when we get to Tommy, he's just there. He's going to get his climb, but he's going to have fun while he's doing it. He's going to hang out with his bro, and he's going to be there for his bro, too, so that he can experience it together. Because when I'm climbing with friends, I like to experience it with them. Like, I'm not as happy unless they get the climb with me. And I feel like Tommy had that same mindset of just really wanting other people to enjoy it with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the what I liken it to is Tommy Caldwell is a salesman, Alex Honnold is a closer, right? It's just...
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it.
He gets things done because if he doesn't, he will literally perish. Tommy is there for the ride. I mean, to pioneer so many climbs on such a magnificent granite monolith in the middle of one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I don't have the nuts, dude. I'll be honest. I just don't have the balls. I would walk up and just be like, oh, no one's done that line yet. Ain't gonna be me. Like, it's amazing. And I like that you brought that up there. They're two very different style of climbers. Alex Honnold, to me, is more of an athlete, you know, an overall athlete. Not necessarily like, oh, he's so fit, you know, anything like that, but just his mindset strikes me as more of just like a diehard, just an athlete, you know what I mean?
He's more competitive,
yeah. And then Tommy's just a raw climber. Now, to clarify for the listeners, I am not saying one is better than the other. I respect both immensely. And Alex Honnold, Tommy Caldwell, some of my personal heroes, you know, and I admire and respect what they've both done so much. I struck emotional bonds with both of them in both movies. You know what I mean? I related to Alex a lot. And then my heart reached out to Tommy up on that wall, you know, and Tommy's such an emotional guy, dude. He's got to give me a break, dude, because every interview he starts breaking down and I start breaking down a little bit. And I'm like,
there's a lot more of those.
You got to pull it together, my dude. Like, I can't take it. And then, you know, all the things he went through in you know, Kyrgyzstan in the Middle East and, you know, with Beth and crazy stuff. We won't get too much into that stuff. Just watch the movie. If you haven't seen either of these movies, absolutely go watch them. Both beautiful works of art.
Take the time.
Take the time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, there's, for me, Kevin Jorgensen. I'll go last again, but just tell me kind of your impression. Because I don't know about you guys. I didn't know much about Kevin Jorgensen before watching The Dawn Wall. I knew he was a crusher. I mean, I knew the guy was a bouldering legend, but I didn't know really even that he was Tommy's partner until someone like kind of said it to my face, and I ingested that, and I was like, oh, like that was. I didn't even know he climbed big walls, which he didn't. But what did you guys get as a vibe from Kevin in the movie?
For me, I don't know much about Kevin, like, going into the movie, and I still don't know much about him. But just kind of, like, observing him as he was going, he seemed kind of like, just like the bro that you want right there with you as you're going.
Yeah.
You know, he always lightens the mood, and he's going to try it with you after you and put in just as many attempts and work just as hard as you are. And that's just kind of what I got from him. He's a really hard worker, but he likes to have a good time while he's doing it, and he's always there for you.
Yeah, good partner. Absolutely.
Yeah, like I'd seen Kevin's name before the film. I may have seen, some random clips of his bouldering and stuff like that. He was definitely a name I was aware of when the film had come out. But I also didn't know a ton about him. But yeah, like obviously super strong and like magazine cover, super elite climber.
Right.
But like one hell of a wingman. Like he totally backed his guy up, and that's I think was the most impressive about him. Like anybody can be strong, but to like you're just like the ultimate teammate. Like he knew that was Tommy's climb. He knew he was like supporting him through it. And he obviously had to do the climb with him, which was like insane.
Oh yeah.
But to just like go out there and like have your buddies back the whole time, that was another part of that movie that made it like so heavy.
Absolutely. And I respect Kevin a lot. Watching the movie, the first thing that jumped out at me was he spontaneously decided to climb the Don Wall. That blew my mind. I mean, having no big wall experience.
Didn't Caldwell have to like teach him trad? Like, didn't he have to like kind of show him some stuff?
Pretty much. He knew nothing.
Like, dude, the guy had nenever been more than like 30 feet off the ground for the most part, and
he's like, that stuff's hard to learn. Dude, rope skills are
very hard.
So hard.
Can you imagine trying to keep up with that guy? Like, Tommy's been doing it since.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, he has lived on childhood. The wall. And then you just. For me, again, this comes down to the size of the balls, I guess, because I don't have the balls to be like, hey, I know you're like the best in the world at this, but like, yo, you need a partner. Like I couldn't do it. I would just be like, dude, I'm not experienced enough. I'm not strong enough. Like for me, the experience was the big thing. I mean, Tommy going into this with years and years and years of experience, especially just on this wall specifically.
Yeah, he back of his hand for sure.
Yeah, knew every feature of the wall, and having never even been up there before and just being like, hey man, you need a partner. I mean, another act of like amazing selflessness, and just kind of threw himself in the situation. And then Tommy was like, yes, I do. Come, please help me. I'm lonely.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been rappelling up and down all day. It'd be
I'm
cool
having
to have
a bad
to talk
time.
to and like work this out with.
Yeah. And then for me, the second biggest thing jumping out with Kevin was I really, really felt for him on pitch 15. Having to go through that.
What a weight to carry.
Yeah. Having Tommy, third, fourth try, whatever it was, having him just kind of, like he said, flip a switch and just do it. Put a lot of pressure on him to perform, and then like we all saw it in the movie, the news crews showed up, the cameras showed up, and everyone's like, dude, the whole country.
Everyone's watching.
Yeah, the whole world even wants this guy to do pitch 15, and pitch 15 is fucking hard. It is hard. I don't know if you guys were looking at the same imaginary holds I was looking at.
But it was bullshit, man. I don't know what made him think like that was a line.
That,
like, oh yeah, well, this is cool. This will work.
That traverse. And then when he explains the move, once you get to that little lorette where he's like, left hand high, stick the heel, left hand low, move the right hand, left hand high, drop the heel. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, dude, like just genius. Like
none of that made sense to me. I'm a climber, and none of that made sense to me at all.
No,
it's like, dude, did you just do a complete circle of moves? Did you just end up in the same position? Like,
so you could like kind of like scale his body over a couple inches.
Yeah, just to move his foot over just a little bit. And truly incredible. I mean, Tommy Caldwell, such an athlete. I mean, You can see his precision, how close he keeps his hips to the wall at all times. I mean, he just truly an inspiring climber to watch. Perfect technique. I wouldn't even hesitate to say that.
He just glides.
Yeah, flawless technique. He just knows rock climbing like the back of his hand, you know. And you can say maybe he's not got the most raw power in the world. That's obvious, but just flawless technique. And I mean that was showcased, of course, when he decides to do the world's most heinous down climb.
Yeah,
like was like a 514 D, not a D, 514 B down climb. I don't know if you guys have ever down climbed outdoors.
Not much. Like I usually just take.
Yeah, no, yeah. I don't down climb.
Down climbing indoors is difficult. Down climbing outdoors is, in my mind, unfeasible. It's just like, yeah.
I mean, I've down climbed little boulder problems, but never anything on like ropes or anything. It's always been like,
yeah.
If I'm done, I'm just gonna like back off and see if anyone can keep leading it. But
yeah, and for me, it's like, here's the main difference, right? Gym holds come out of the wall. Outdoor, the holds are pressed into the wall. You don't have the same kind of downward force on them outdoors. You know what I mean? Like, it makes a big difference. It really does. You got to tuck your weight so close into the wall. But anyways, and then Kevin, dude, that dyno, absolutely nutty.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely nutty. Just the explosive power he used. Honestly, that might have been my favorite like climbing moment the whole movie. I love dynos. You guys know me. But like when he stuck that mess, that was awesome.
But he was like built for it. That's exactly why he was there. He was the bold, the explosive one.
Exactly. That part of the climb was built for him, and it was cool that they showcased those two different styles so well.
Yeah, they always say, technique trumps power, but like I feel like his power kind of got past the technique on that one.
Yeah, dude, if you can generate enough power, technique doesn't matter. This is what Zach Manzani and I talked about in the podcast. It's like, dude, you got to do the climb either way. So either you are strong enough, or your technique is good enough.
Yeah.
But like one way or the other, you know, just get your way up the wall, and he did.
There's two ways to the top, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys knew this. So the only other ascent of the Don Wall was by Adam Ondra.
Yeah.
Of course. Right. Yeah. And he did it in 6 days, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Dang.
So it took them, 19?
Yes, 19 days. Yeah. But here's the thing, and I didn't know this until yesterday. Adam Ondra did not do the dyno. Adam Ondra did the down climb.
What?
Kevin Jorgensen is the only person to have done that climb with the dyno.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool title to hold.
It is. Yeah. I mean, he's the only person that's done the Don Wall in its original intended form, you know, without the added down climb. Pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't take anything away from Ondra or from Caldwell, but, you know,
of course not.
I like that he had that moment, I guess.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And after the victory on pitch 15, going into that dyno and sticking it, I almost stood up off my couch, honestly. I was like...
There were people like yelling in the theaters when I was there.
Oh, dude. I really wish that I saw it in theaters, but we don't need to talk about that. I choked. You even invited me, and I choked.
Okay, cool. I feel better now.
No, you did. You told me it was going down, and I forgot.
That's okay. I almost forgot too.
Yeah, but yeah, truly, I mean, Kevin Jorgensen really held his own, which up with a crusher like Tommy Caldwell is not an easy thing to do. I mean,
no, that's a hell of a pace to match.
I'd be scared to climb in a gym with Tommy Caldwell. I would just be like, hey, you go first.
Yeah, dude.
Don't watch me climb, please.
Might take a little beta, and I'm gonna wait for you to go to the bathroom before I actually try anything.
Yeah. That would be me. I am afraid of you, and I want to hug you at the same time. But yeah, so moving forward here, another thing I wanted to talk about towards the end of this podcast. We've already been talking for 40 minutes.
Wow.
Dang.
It'd be like that sometimes. Tell you what, we're going to chop the question of the day out of this episode. We're just going to keep on talking. No one answers those anyways, but...
That's fair.
It's getting... Listen, production told me we got to cut it from the show. It's just liability, you know what I mean?
Hey.
All that stuff, yeah. And Kevin over in production was like, dude, Liam, at Disney, because you guys know this is provided by Disney, right?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
How long can I say that, you think, without getting in trouble?
I think by the time you get in trouble, it's worth it because like enough people heard it that they heard about it, you know?
Right.
So it's like, fuck it, you know?
Disney, if you're listening, suck it up, dude. I'm gonna keep saying it. Like,
yeah, come get me.
Yeah, but also don't hurt me. I'm afraid of you.
Yeah, low-key Disneyland's a very scary company. I don't know if I'd want to make enemies with them.
Yeah, we don't.
They have a lot of power.
True. So brought to you by Disney. Vertical thoughts. But that's the reason why we're not doing the question of the day. But the final topic of discussion, I have so much to say about this. If you, anyone who's listening to this, or even you two here with me, if you ever want to discuss Kevin Jorgensen, Tommy Caldwell, Alex Honnold, just come grab me, dude. Wherever I am, just come be like, hey, man, what were your thoughts on Adam Ondra completing the first few pitches? I think the first 9 pitches of the Don Wall on the first day. Dude, just come ask me about it. I'll tell you how I feel about it. Friggin', never mind. he's the man, but also like, what a dick. But also like, you're the man.
Yeah, super dick move. Okay, I'm glad someone said that. I was like, dang, they couldn't like have a moment. You just come up and blast it after him.
It wasn't like, I don't want to say that it was a dick move because like I definitely don't think he intended it to be that way. You know what I mean? I think he just happened to be coming to America to already do all of our hard climbs anyways. And then he was like, someone was like, hey man, did you hear like, you know, they did the Don Wall? And he was like, oh, okay, I'll do that too. It's like,
you know when like you're in the gym and you see someone carrying your climb and like they keep on falling and they're taking along, you're like, just hurry up and get off so I can do it. Yeah. I picture Adam Ondra doing exactly that.
Yeah,
just like standing there
kind of makes it a dick move.
Come on, guys, come on. It's my turn.
Personally, if I see someone in the gym like struggling on something and I know I'll just like run through it, I'll usually just wait till either they're not looking or until they leave to do it. Because it's like, dude, I'm not gonna go anywhere for a week. Don Wall is not going anywhere. It's not like it's gonna fly away tomorrow. Did you have to just show up and run it like as like a surprise thing on your tour? Like the dude did like 10 years to build this masterpiece, and you just came up and just like sketched next to it and like, oh, dope, and then like left.
Dude, he literally just walked.
I'm just gonna say it. Like that was pretty fucked up.
I won't say that it didn't challenge him because in his own words, it was extremely challenging. I mean, he talked a lot in the interview that I read about. Basically, he was just saying like, I struggled with this. Like this pitch was hard. I didn't like this pitch. This pitch wasn't to my style. You know what I mean? Like, and if he's if he's complaining about it, that puts it in perspective. Yeah. It must be really damn hard because I mean he's just the best, you know what I mean, and it's the hardest climb in the world, and so of course it's going to draw him out there. And of course, I have like super mixed feelings about it, but he just like came to America and did all of our hard climbs and then left.
Just ran it.
I was like, sheesh, man, we're left like sore after that. Like I'm like,
I know, right? Yeah. All right, well, dude, see ya.
My butt hurts. Like, sheesh.
Thanks for making us look soft as hell.
Yeah, but. I mean, respect. He ran through the Don Wall, did the only second ascent. I'm sure Tommy was stoked for him. That's all I can say.
Of course, yeah. He's the type that totally would be, you know?
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not like it was an easy task to follow. So, of course, the respect's there, you know?
Yeah, true.
I just wish there's a little more space between the two.
I get you. I totally do. I think you're definitely not alone in feeling like that. I'm sure there's a whole, school of climbers in the community that definitely feel exactly the same about that. I definitely go back and forth between the two. I'm like, but then I'm like, I get it. I'm a huge Adam Ondra fan. I'm a huge fan. So it's like, I don't want to be like, wow, rude. But also sometimes I'm like, wow, rude. But that's climbing, I guess. Yeah. At least he didn't do it before.
just passed him up. He's like, I'll take the lead if you guys want.
They're stuck on pitch 15 and he just kind of climbs past them. No, at least he didn't do that. But let's wrap things up here by talking about the difference between the two movies in general, and less about the actual athletes and the athletic feats, but just the movies in general. And the one thing that I'll say, and then I'll open it up to you guys, I think the biggest difference between the two movies was that the Don Wall was certainly a climbing movie. It was like our podcast. It was by climbers for climbers. The studio, Sender Films, they do real rock. You know what I mean? These guys are climbers. And they did a hell of a good job. It was a beautiful movie. It was very well done, but it was certainly not Hollywood. And I'm not saying the Don Wall was, I'm not saying Free Solo was, but it was, I mean, damn it. it had the quality, it had the production value.
Oh, totally.
They maintained with the Dawn Wall a little bit, and I mean a little bit, of a homemade feel, just enough to make you feel like you were watching an old climbing movie. Or even, I compare old climbing movies to old skating movies. I don't know if you guys ever watched like old skating or surfing movies.
Definitely.
It's like the same vibe, dude. Like the music's the same.
I like the old school style. It's kind of It kind of felt like Valley Uprising. It was like that kind of like run and gun style.
Super super raw feel to it. And then Jimmy Chin. I mean, what can you say?
Artist.
Truly a visionary. Even him having his own moments of raw emotion throughout the movie. I have the utmost respect for him and what he did. I couldn't do it. If someone asked me to, I'd say no. I would never do it.
No part in that.
Yeah, but he did it. And he did it amazingly well, and got himself a well-deserved Oscar for it. And much love from us here at Vertical Thoughts, and from all the climbers here in Southern California. I don't know a single person who's not a fan of Jimmy Chin after that. I mean, if you didn't know him before, you know him now. He put his name on everyone's mouth. It's kind of the way it is. But I do think that the one thing was that Free Solo was more of a feature film than the Dawn Wall. It just
totally.
It's not a negative. You know what I mean?
No.
It was made for an IMAX theater in mind. They were thinking, this is on the big screen. This is going to blow people's minds. Like, that's just the way it is. This is going to open up the space of rock climbing to the rest of the world. The same people who like to watch, like think about the movie. Was it 127 hours? Is 227 hours? I forget what it is.
127.
127 hours.
Yeah.
Same appeal. You know what I mean? But it was not a dramatization, obviously.
No, that's really how it went down.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the real guy doing the real thing. Actual footage, not a dramatization, but kind of the same, thrill-seeking aspect of kind of the same person, I guess, who's attracted to that kind of a thing will be attracted to this, and they were. And my God, it was popular. I mean, I can't believe to this day how many just random people that I know in my life.
Man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Climbing's in the Olympics. We're winning Oscars. I mean, what's going on? Right? This is nuts.
Blowing up.
10 years ago, real rock was all there was. That was climbing
pretty much
cinematography, and that was all there was, and we loved it. We ate it up. By we, I mean climbers, but no one else knew what it was. I remember going to Real Rock 9 or 10, probably 10, in like the tiniest little college theater in like Pomona, and I loved it. It was awesome, but there was like 20 people there, and it was one of those things. It was like watching a college film classes like film festival that they put on. It was kind of like that. Really small.
Real campy.
Yeah, but that was the height of climbing cinematography at the climb, and now we have this tower, you know what I mean, that has been built that is Free Solo.
Totally. This standard has been set all of a sudden.
Yeah, for climbing cinematography and exposing climbing to the world. My question really for you guys, I know I kind of said it all, I apologize, but my question for you guys is, what's next for climbing cinematography? Are we going to break off into two separate directions, do you think, with movies like The Dawn Wall and then movies like Free Solo? Are they going to mix? What do you think is next for the world of climbing video?
Ooh.
It's a hard question.
Yeah. I feel like it's tough to predict what's next because we're just now seeing the first example of like two different goals, or like a diversification of like the goals in mind. Because I feel like Dawn Wall, I feel like both missions in both movies were achieved, and they also had good intentions. So like no one is better or worse than the other in its own sense. They're just like so different. I feel like what Jimmy Chin and Elizabeth were trying to achieve was like bringing climbing to people who didn't understand it, and just like, This is what, they're just trying to give them a moment of that. Where Dawn Wall was kind of made like, oh, we're just making a movie about what we're passionate about, and whoever wants to watch it and come along is welcome to, and it hit two different audiences, and just that is proof that there's more than one audience for this. So if it gets spun another way, I mean, who knows like how many ways there could be to go,
Yeah, it is really hard to predict, and who knows, because you're right. This is kind of the first of its kind. Free Solo was, kind of a different breed of movie that we're not used to seeing, and that the whole world. I like the way you put it. They, Elizabeth, Jimmy, Alex Honnold, they said, here's rock climbing at its extreme. You know what I mean? And extreme sport, they took the very most extreme part of it, and they showed the entire world. And what that did is, people started wondering, well, is all climbing like this? Or and then they do some research, and then they see some other videos, and then that
it was pretty cool.
Yeah. That same group of people, though, if you show them, Daniel Woods on a V16 outdoors, they're not really going to be super into it.
They just don't care, yeah.
Yeah, but the same people, who were at the premiere of the Dawn Wall, you show them someone sending V16 outdoors, they're going to be like, dude, look at that hole. Those are tiny. They're going to be into the minutia of it. And it's just, you're right. It's totally different audience. Which one would you guys put yourselves in? Are you more of an enthusiast, or did you find yourself, I guess what I'm really asking, boil down the question a little bit. If you were forced to pick one of the movies that you liked better than the other, I know this is a terrible corner to be forced into, but which one would it be and why? And Noah, we'll start with you on this one.
I got it. So this may be I'm so quick with this answer now that I've seen both. I really like Dawn Wall better. And the reason I say that is I feel like Free Solo was great. I'm not going to lie, it was a really good movie. But I felt like they didn't spend enough time on the climb itself. They spent a lot of this time on his home life and his relationship, which unpopular opinion, I hated his relationship with a passion during the movie.
Oh,
it was
awesome.
so bad to me. I really hated it and wish it wasn't even in there. It didn't need to be in there. I didn't want it to be in there. But it was there.
It was. And I'll tell you what, the reason I say this is awesome is I think it's awesome that you think that and that you're willing to share that. Because it's different. Everyone watches the movie. Everyone takes something different from it. And you were, abhorrently not into that side of the story. And I think that's awesome. Was there a certain reason that maybe you could pinpoint as to why that wasn't, maybe as interesting or captivating for you?
I think it's a combination of it wasn't what I came there to see, and also it wasn't worth watching to me. This couple have their mini bickers and then resolve kind of. And then me watching these mini trysts, I'm like, why is he still with her? This is stupid. She broke his ankle. What is going on?
You're a savage. I love it.
That's just
around.
Yeah. This is awesome, and you kind of hit it right on the nose there. I think for a lot of people, that's not what you came to see. I mean, you bought the ticket, or you bought the movie, or you came to your friend's house who bought the, you saw the movie. And that's not what you came to see. And the Dawn Wall was climbing, and that's what you were there to see.
Exactly. And not just climbing, I really enjoyed Tommy's story, his journey. Because for Alex, I felt like they just kind of shoved some of his backstory in there just so you knew who he was as a person. But Tommy, his whole life was connected to climbing. Everything branched off from that. Everything stemmed from that. And I found that really entertaining and interesting. And I thought it paired perfectly with the movie and with his climbing. You could see his desperation, he has to do this for so many reasons. And if you watch the movie, you'll see he really, really needed this climb. And when he got it, you just are right there with him, beside yourself with joy because he was able to finish it. And I think that's cool when they make a movie that showcases him as a person along with his climbing, and how truly amazing they both combined. I would watch stuff like that.
I like that. Honestly, thank you for sharing your perspective. I think you're not alone. I think there are people who probably felt the same way. I think there are climbers who watched the movie and were like, dude, I don't care about this. This is not, it's not interesting to me. I think that appealed more to the general populace who's watching the movie and watching a climber and doesn't know about climbing. But they want to know that they're viewing a human being, a person,
right,
who has minutia like that in his day-to-day life, and goes through things like that. And I think it just comes down to storytelling. You know what I mean? And you hit a key point though. Tommy had to do that climb. Alex and what everyone was trying to tell him the whole movie, you don't have to do this. Even Tommy was trying to tell him, you don't have to do
back
this.
Off.
Yeah, like you. And his answer was the same every time. I know I don't have to. I want to. I want to do this, and that was enough for him. Self-motivation. Just, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. And it wasn't like a "you can't stop me" kind of attitude. It was just like, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. You can be there, or you can be somewhere else. Like it was not like, do you want me to do this? It was more like, do you want to watch? You know. And then there's like, you know, maybe don't watch if you're going to be emotional about it. That's really good insight though. I didn't think about that because I didn't take that away from the movie, but I like that you gave me that insight, because now the next time I watch the movie, I'm going to think a little bit more about, you know, watching it from a climber's perspective and what that may be like. Totally. But what about you, Xavier? What did you think?
I think I would have to definitely side with Noah on this one and go with Donwall. The main reason being, I felt it was more relatable. It wasn't so much Honnold's coldness that like pushed me away from Free Solo as much as some of the things Caldwell was talking about. I'm like, oh, I understand what that feels like, or I kind of get that feeling to an extent. And I just got pulled more into one movie than I did get pushed away from another, if that makes any sense. But I will say, in terms of cinematography, Free Solo definitely takes the cake. Yeah, that set this like very cinema, like high production value standard, where like you're not really gonna, I don't want to say get away with, but like the old school like climbing videos that you said were kind of like the old skating videos. Those are now going to be like, they're very much going to be challenged, like new, as you said, tower kind of just growing out of the ground, where it's like, oh man, this could like totally be its own thing, you know. But I love that they've been released so close together that we can even like have a discussion about that, you know. And that's but I'd say
what a crazy coincidence, right, that they both kind of happened at the same time. I mean, they didn't. Like, I mean, the Dawn Wall was being filmed for a long time.
Yeah, they just
they were making that movie for like a decade, like a long time. They were making the Dawn Wall, and then these two giant, you know, meccas of climbing film just kind of show up at the same time.
Like, we're just gonna do this.
Yeah, who would have thought? They didn't butt heads at all.
No, I never heard any like mudslinging. Nothing. It was just like, oh sweet, we'll show up to your movie. Well, you guys can show up to ours. Yeah. Everyone's had a good time.
And I don't think there was even any competition between the two, because like we've been talking about this whole time, they're different. I mean,
no.
I'll be honest, if you backed me into a corner and put a gun to my head and said, which movie was your favorite, I'd have to go with the Dawn Wall as well. I mean, it just it came down to the storytelling for me, and like we've all been talking about, the relatability. I mean, we're climbers, go figure, right? 3 climbers pick the climbing movie. Who could have foreseen that? I think it just comes down to the movie was made for us. The movie was made for people like us, by climbers, for climbers. That's what it was. I could never take anything away from Free Solo. I don't think anyone could. Xavier, I'm glad you touched on the quality aspect, because my God, I mean, unprecedented.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
Just glorious. Every angle, every shot, the storytelling, even for me, like even the storyboarding type stuff that they did, like the way they told the story, the graphical interface they used, it was all so damn beautiful. I mean, it just, and this is, Xavier, you and me, we've both worked in film. And so I think that's that side of us coming out to play.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just glorious. It was a glorious movie. It was shot beautifully. The coloring was amazing. I don't know who graded that movie, but like, damn, just
slick. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, such a well-made, and I mean, it's National Geographic, right? What do you expect? It's
exactly. There's just true. Like that prestige is just going to come with it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to say that it was a higher budget, because I don't know that, so I'm talking out of my ass if I say that, but it felt like it to me. You know what I mean? It felt like a higher budget production. The production value was just higher for Free Solo. And so if you ask me which one was a better movie, I might say Free Solo. If you ask me which one I liked more, I might say The Dawn Wall. It just comes down to two totally different, topics of discussion.
Totally.
Jimmy Chin's a visionary, and I'm not taking anything away from The Dawn Wall, which was filmed also beautifully, and the storytelling was great. And and Noah, you kind of talked about that. This storytelling that they did with Tommy Caldwell's life and his upbringing, and really getting inside his head, in the many interviews, and interviewing different people who were close to him, and showing so much raw footage of them on the wall, really gave an awesome insight into his life. And so I think, in terms of which one's a finer piece of art, they're absolutely equal in my eyes. I mean, they're just in different ways, I guess. Two amazing movies, two amazing climbers, three amazing climbers. Not to mention, all the other people in the movies who were part of this. I mean, think about just being a part of Alex Honnold's life and how challenging that would be to
It seems intense. It seems it's
to be like friends or family with someone like that. I mean, it's tricky. It's difficult. And he knows that. And maybe that has something to do with his, I won't call it hostility because I don't think that's what it is, but maybe that has something to do with his coldness. Maybe he is afraid of people getting close to him. Because what if he drops off the wall tomorrow? You know what I mean? Maybe he just doesn't want to hurt anyone.
It's a lot of responsibility to carry.
It is. It's an incredible mantle that he bears, and he chooses that. And of course, at the end of the day, you can just say, well, he could just stop, and he could, but he probably won't. And that's just,
probably not.
That's just the way it is.
Probably not.
Yeah, and you remember, the scene with Jimmy Chin talking to all the videographers, and they're talking about how he's going to try it tomorrow, and he just says no mistakes. That's all he says.
Yeah,
just no mistakes tomorrow.
Zero room for error.
Yeah, and with Tommy, it was never like that. It was, I'm going to fail at this thing thousands of times, and then I'm going to do it one time. Totally different accomplishments, totally different movies. What more can you say? I think with like an hour and 5 minutes worth of talking, we
just both different but equally impressive as far as like mental feats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just very, very strong, like headed people.
Yeah, amazing climbers, amazing people in general, and thank you to the people at Free Solo, and thank you to the people at the Dawn Wall. If you ever, for whatever reason, find yourself listening to this, thank you for what you've done for climbing as a community, for showcasing what you've shown. You know what I mean? Climbing has been in the dark for so long, and it's thank you for bringing it to light. Thank you for showing the world the beautiful sport of rock climbing through these two movies, and the intricacies and delicacies of the sport, and just thank you for bringing us to the spotlight. I think climbing is finally in a well-deserved spotlight, because of you, because of what you guys have done making these two movies. I think we've covered it. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap things up?
Nah, I feel like you hit it on that one. Well, it's definitely a path has been paved. We're just kind of following it, So, and it's all respect, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, William. Lots of fun.
You are most welcome, my friend. Noah, Xavier, thanks for coming on, guys. I'm sure we'll see you in the future. More shows. It's always fun, man. And for those of you listening, we're not stopping. We're gaining momentum. I've got some things in the works, some big announcements coming soon for Vertical Thoughts. I wanted to take like 2 minutes here and just talk a little bit about my future for the show and for the brand and stuff, and just explain that Vertical Thoughts to me is not just a podcast. I am building Vertical Thoughts to be a centralized location for all things climbing. I'm talking apparel, media, video, audio, the whole thing, all of it. Vertical Thoughts to me is everything rock climbing. Right now, the main source of content production that we have, of course, is these podcasts, and this is kind of where the journey begins. So if you're listening, thank you so much for joining. I'm your host, Liam Wynn. This is Vertical Thoughts, the climbing podcast by climbers for climbers. I'll see you guys next Monday at 9 a.m.